Have you ever walked into a room and felt like everyone was secretly watching you? Or hesitated before opening a message, convinced it might contain bad news? Maybe you've replayed a casual conversation for hours, wondering if someone was secretly mocking you behind your back. If these moments sound familiar, you're not alone. But where's the line between normal worry and something more serious? Welcome back to Behind Your Mind, a space where we peel back the layers of human behavior, mental health, and the thoughts we rarely say out loud. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a question many of us have quietly wondered. Is my paranoia normal, or is it something I should be concerned about? Paranoia gets a bad rap. The very word conjures up images of extreme suspicion, people looking over their shoulders, whispering about conspiracies, or fearing constant surveillance. But in truth, paranoia exists on a spectrum. Everyday paranoia, also known as non-clinical paranoia, is surprisingly common. It includes those little doubts that creep into your mind, like thinking your coworkers might be talking about you, or suspecting a friend is ignoring your texts on purpose. These aren't always irrational thoughts. Sometimes they're just the brain's way of processing uncertainty. Insight. Psychologists often refer to this as interpersonal sensitivity, a heightened awareness of others' thoughts and behaviors that may lead to suspicion. In a 2014 study published in the journal Psychiatry Research, researchers found that more than 30% of participants admitted to occasionally experiencing paranoid thoughts, even though they had no diagnosable mental illness. Take Maya, a 28-year-old graphic designer. After a meeting at work, she felt uneasy. She kept wondering if her manager had subtly criticized her. That night, Maya rewatched the Zoom recording, analyzing every word and facial expression. While her friends brushed it off as overthinking, to Maya, it felt very real. Was she being paranoid or simply intuitive? To understand paranoia, we have to talk about the brain's alarm system. Humans are wired for survival. Our ancestors depended on a healthy dose of suspicion to stay alive. If you were too trusting, you might get ambushed. That hypervigilance, the constant scanning for danger, helped ensure survival. Fast forward to modern life, and that same system is still at work, but now it's reacting to social cues instead of tigers. Insight. Neuroscientist Dr. Daniel Freeman explains that paranoia often stems from a misfiring of the brain's threat detection system. Stress, past trauma, and lack of sleep can all amplify this system. In other words, your mind starts seeing patterns that aren't really there. Example. Let's say you've been burned by betrayal in the past, maybe by a close friend or partner. Your brain remembers that pain. So now, when someone cancels plans or takes a while to reply, your mind goes on high alert. What if they don't like me anymore? What if I did something wrong? That's your survival system talking. So, when does this kind of thinking become concerning? There's a difference between an occasional what if and a persistent, distressing belief that others are out to get you. Clinical paranoia, such as that seen in paranoid personality disorder or psychotic disorders, involves strong, often irrational suspicions that are not based on evidence and that impair daily functioning. Red flags might include constantly feeling watched or followed, believing others are sabotaging you without clear evidence, withdrawing from relationships out of fear or distrust, inability to accept reassurance from others. Tom, a 35-year-old teacher, began to notice that his neighbors would sometimes glance at him when he stepped outside. Slowly, he became convinced they had cameras watching him. He stopped taking walks, kept curtains drawn, and avoided conversations. Even though his family tried to reassure him, he couldn't shake the feeling. Eventually, Tom was diagnosed with delusional disorder and began therapy. Insight. This transition from everyday suspicion to delusion can be subtle. Mental health professionals look for patterns. Is the thought persistent? Is it affecting relationships, work, or sleep? Does the person remain open to the idea that they might be wrong? Those answers help determine whether the paranoia is clinical or not. Everyday paranoia doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's often triggered or exacerbated by stress and burnout. High cortisol levels can make the brain hypersensitive to threats. Sleep deprivation. Fatigue impairs cognitive functions and increases emotional reactivity. Substance use. Drugs like cannabis and stimulants can induce paranoid thinking. Social media. Comparing ourselves constantly can heighten insecurities and suspicion. Isolation. When we lack connection, our brain fills in gaps with assumptions, often negative. After working from home for months, Sarah noticed she started interpreting vague Slack messages as passive-aggressive. The lack of face-to-face interaction made it easy for her brain to imagine negativity. Her paranoia was subtle, but it chipped away at her confidence and sense of belonging. Here's the good news. For most people, everyday paranoia is manageable. You don't have to live in fear of your own thoughts. Practical tips. Reality testing. Ask yourself, what's the evidence for this thought? What's the evidence against it? Journaling. Writing down your fears can help you observe patterns and challenge distortions. Grounding techniques. Use mindfulness to bring yourself back to the present. Open communication. Talk to trusted friends or a therapist. Sometimes, simply verbalizing your worries can shrink them. Limit exposure to triggers. Take breaks from social media, avoid stimulants, and prioritize rest. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is one of the most effective tools in addressing paranoid thinking. It teaches people to identify distorted thoughts and replace them with healthier ones. Even 1 or 2 sessions can offer surprising clarity. Let's revisit that feeling. Walking into a room and thinking everyone's judging you. Here's the truth. Most people are too wrapped up in their own thoughts to obsess over ours. The spotlight effect, a well-documented psychological bias, explains that we overestimate how much others notice us. You stumble during a presentation. You think, everyone must think I'm an idiot. But later, a colleague says, great talk. Because chances are they didn't even notice that moment. Insight. Paranoia, at its root, is about control. When the world feels uncertain, our minds seek patterns, any patterns, even if those patterns are imaginary. Recognizing this helps us meet our thoughts with compassion, not shame. If you've ever wondered whether your paranoid thoughts were normal, you now know. You're far from alone. These thoughts don't make you weak. They make you human. But if they start interfering with your peace of mind, reaching out is a strength, not a flaw. At Behind Your Mind, we believe understanding yourself is the first step toward healing. If today's story resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who might be struggling too. And remember, every mind has its shadows, but with curiosity and care, we can learn to walk through them. And hey, if this episode helped you understand yourself or someone else just a little better, please consider subscribing, liking, or just sharing this with someone who might need it. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember, I'm right here with you, behind your mind.